Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom, your senior minister, and it is my true honor to introduce Wisconsin's 11th Poet Laureate, Dasha Kelly Hamilton. This morning, as we celebrate the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Sunday, Dasha is sharing with us a modified version of her nationally touring, critically acclaimed show, Makin. Through responsive and respectful intentionality, Dasha leverages the creative process to facilitate critical dialogues around human and social wellness. Her nonprofit, Still Waters Collective, has curated poetry, programming, and spoken word events in the region for almost 20 years. The work has impacted more than 13,000 youth, provided professional development to more than 100 young people, and created platforms for thousands of voices to be honored and heard. Dasha has written for regional, national, and local magazines. She's produced 3 collections of poetry, recorded 4 spoken word CDs, and published 2 novels. She holds an MFA in creative writing from Antioch University, and she's taught writing courses at Mount Mary University, Alverno College, and UW-Milwaukee. Dasha Kelly Hamilton.
Good morning. Here. Here is not temporal or geographical. Here is always where you are. Here is the first time, the oddest place, that singular state of mind, both offering and announcement. Here is yours to claim. Here is a pile of gathered leaves and store receipts, deep kisses, missed rides, and cotton swabs cooling on skin knees. Here is a swallowed apology, an unspoken prayer, a bellow, a whistle, some whispered praise. Here is the aggregate of circumstances, your collections of detours and dreams. Here is your pregnant promise, all you are birthing, all you've been. Here is one moment and kaleidoscope memories. Here is a clenched fist and a heart trembling. Here is pulling the door closed and stepping out into the sun. Here is the heartbeat between dusk and dawn, a blink at some sliver of your expansive existence. Here is always where you are.
Will you please rise and bow your spirit for our opening hymn, number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
Good morning. I am Reverend Kimberly Tomczak Carlson, and it is my honor to serve as your Minister of Religious Education. We are delighted to have our children with us for this multi-generational worship featuring our special guest, Dasha Kelly Hamilton. To help our children stay engaged and entertained and enthusiastic in this we have a special Making Cake coloring activity bingo book. This book has cake-themed coloring pages, a cake maze, a chance to design your very own cake and apron, cake riddles to solve, and an acrostic cake poem that you could create, and more, and more. On the back is a bingo card, and each bingo square can be marked off when they participate in various parts of the service today or in the pages of the Making Cake coloring activity bingo book. You, as in children of all ages, can collect a prize up to 5 bingo prizes for every bingo line completed. Yeah. Come and collect your prize from the prize box after service at the RE table by showing Fiona or I all the energy that you put into that creativity, and all the energy and creativity you put into that activity book. I cannot wait to see what you do with it. If you need a making cake coloring activity bingo book, please come up right here. Fiona, could you stand up? Fiona has brought some in. Come on up. If you're a child without an activity book, you're going to at least want to check it out now. Come on up and get them. Come on up and get them. I see you. Yeah, here you come. Don't be shy. Fiona can bring one to you. If you are a little shy and you want to raise your hand, we will bring one to you as well. There's some choir members who really want to try out the making cat coloring activity bingo book. There we go. All right. That is your time for all ages for today. Thank you.
I'd like to invite everyone into a time of contemplation, which will be followed by silence, followed by the seated singing of hymn 123, Spirit of Life. So just take a moment and find yourself in your body. Do that however you need to do it. Maybe you use the tool of your breath. Let breathing in and out, bringing you into being here and now. Spirit of life and love, Holy One of our being and our becoming, that which is sacred within, among and beyond us. Join us this morning. Be with us on this complicated Sunday, this Sunday of celebration and also grief, of joy and connection and pain and loss, this Sunday of layers. Like every other day, there are layers and layers of meaning today, layers and layers of feeling, layers and layers of experience. Spirit, may all those who are feeling anxious or stressed or scared about the threats to our democracy and our beloveds be comforted this morning. Bind us together, gather in our strength and our commitment to protect threatened communities. Immigrants, trans people, Black people, Indigenous people, people of color, disabled people, queer people, women, pregnant people. Spirit, bind us together and gather in our strength. Fortify us with love and connection. May it be so. ones, we are a faith community of many identities, and here at First Church, we welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome everything you are carrying in with you this morning and all that your heart longs to set down. We welcome people who are watching us online. Good morning, online folks. We're streaming this service live. And we also pay a special welcome to the guests who are joining us this morning. If you're a visiting guest, we invite you to fill out a welcome card. Those are located in the pew racks in front of you, and you can drop that into the offering plate that will come around in a few minutes. Also, please join us for a social hour in the Leanhouse Common Room after the service. There will be cake. Friends, there will be so much cake. And we invite you to eat some of it and drink some coffee with us. A couple of accessibility notes. Folks can find hearing assist devices as well as large print hymnals and orders of service at the back of the sanctuary where there are worship activity bags. And again, if you would like one of our Making Cake bingo cards, Fiona has them up here at the front. If you're watching online, YouTube has closed captioning available. You can enable that function on your device. We have one announcement this morning about tomorrow. Dear ones, if you are feeling stressed or afraid, if you are feeling disconnected, don't be alone tomorrow. Join First Church at one of the many Martin Luther King Jr. celebrations that are happening tomorrow. The anti-racism team of First Church is going to be going to 2 of the celebrations in the city, so we welcome you to join us at either one. One of them is the Martin Luther King Jr. Coalition's annual MLK Day program. This year the program is We Are Not Afraid. That will be happening at St. Francis of Assisi Church at 1 p.m. tomorrow, with a march leaving the church at 2:30 p.m. Also, we invite you to come to the Wisconsin Black Historical Society and the NAACP's 24th annual family-friendly King Fest that is also happening tomorrow from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Wisconsin Black Historical Society. You can see all of the details in your orders of service. Please don't be alone tomorrow, and remember that Dr. King Day is designed to be a day on, not a day off. I welcome everyone into our service this morning by inviting you to join me in a unison affirmation of our First Church mission. It's printed in your orders of service. We gather to nurture the spirit, engage the mind, and inspire action. Dear ones, pledges are at the core of our congregation's spiritual practice of generosity, and we also share the plate every month with an organization. Our January Share the Plate partner is Forward Scholars, a community volunteer tutoring program with Common Ground in which many of our members are involved, which focuses on helping K through 3rd graders who are not yet reading at grade level. May the practice of giving bring us joy. The offering will now be gratefully received as we sing seated hymn 112. I invite all of the children to stay in the service today because we are a multi-generational service. And if you'd like a bingo card, I'm sure Fiona will give you one. Let us join in singing hymn 112, Dancing Sarah's Circle. 212. Dancing Sarah's Circle.
I don't bake. And I know I present as the type who might resist baking as some passive protest to the patriarchy. Okay, I'm not above that. I'm not above that. But I have so many other issues with so many other social norms. Baking is the least of my concerns. And my sister is convinced that I don't like to bake because my sister thinks that I don't like to follow instructions. Okay, I don't like to follow instructions so closely. Baking is too precise. There's no freestyling in it like cooking. Now, cooking, that is an art. Baking is science. And not ironically, science was a catalyst behind the cake boom. And not that cake was new. Before the wheel, humans had figured out how to turn seeds into flour, add water, and make biscuits. It was the Egyptians who first put yeast into the mix, turning biscuits into bread. And the Romans, they devised machinery that could grind enough flour to feed an empire. And the invention of the windmill made mass production possible all across Europe without the mules and the slaves. Now, the earliest versions of cake were more like granola snacks. Now, medieval bakers would take out the flour and the oats and the berries and set them out on stones under the sun. See, we've always had cake. It just wasn't always possible for everybody. First of all, the process of baking was ridiculously time-consuming. That flour had to be sifted, weighed, and dried before a fire. The currants had to be washed, sifted, and weighed. The raisins had to be pitted, the spices had to be pounded, and then you had to worry about the weather because we were still cooking outside. It took days to bake a cake, which is why it's always been attached to celebration. I mean, nothing says, I love you, and hey, shorty, it's your birthday, like 4 days of cake making. Second, the basic ingredients for cake were really hard to come by. Sugar was a luxury for most people. Common folks would sweeten their cakes with honey, molasses, sometimes even boiled raisins. But the elite, who had pastry teams of servants and slaves to make them any cake anytime for any reason they wanted, they enjoyed their cakes with real sugar. Remains were found in New England a few years ago. And because the coffin was made of lead, we knew the dearly departed status. And because of the skull of rotted and missing teeth, we also knew they had a wicked sweet tooth. And wealth turned out to be a colonial governor's wife. Now, by the time we were done remodeling the West End of America, North and South were in a pretty solid partnership, but not exactly back together. Let's just say they'd gotten past their past, but not over it. North was still pretentious and condescending, if you ask South, and South, according to North, was still crass and insecure. That friend who's definitely gonna blurt out something to make you cringe. But the truth is, North didn't disagree with South, just didn't prefer their style. I mean, South was installing those tacky Ku Klux Klan fixtures with a Jim Crow operating system, while North carried on with its cotillions and sundown towns. Cities where blacks were threatened with death or beatings if seen outside after sunset. Now, if you ask the New West, they tell you that South only barks out loud what North mutters under its breath. Take the Indians. North was able to admit that we did kind of move into the Native Americans' already furnished home, but South was having no part of any conversation that might allow little Indian nations inside of our new America. Ours. So we reneged on our peace treaties with all the Native nations and then divvied up their land. They even went back on their word with the Mexican nations and then encouraged all of our pioneers to squat and ambush their ways across the West. North and South. Horrible as a couple, but invincible as a team. With the signing of the Dawes Act, they renounced Native nations and then threw in an amendment to throw indigenous children into Anglo-Reform boarding schools. They marched 1 million Mexican Americans out of this country in a repatriation act. The Chinese Exclusion Act was our first immigration policy targeting an ethnic group. They limited social access for Catholics and business access for Jews. They even made joblessness punishable with prison. So we have 3 layers of America baking right about now. The bottom layer is a struggle recipe of honey cake, applesauce cake, and ash cake. Now that middle layer, they could sometimes afford to splurge on expensive ingredients like nuts. And the Lady Baltimore cake required all of that extraness. The cake was said to be named after a lady of high society, but that wasn't real. Lady Baltimore was a composite of how the lower layers imagined the top layers to be living. Magnificent, glamorously, and imaginably rich. And they were right. The most exquisite restaurant in the nation, Delmonico's, served a cake called the Baked Alaska, a cake baked warm with ice cream still cold on the inside. And these restaurant regulars were the top layer of cake, the 10% of folks who owned more than half of the nation's new wealth. And I know, America has always been about her disparity, but this gap between the top and bottom layers was starting to become obscene. I mean, while the rich were literally eating cakes gilded in gold, most of America was struggling for the basic cake ingredients. Breathe in. Turn to your neighbor. What's your favorite cake to eat? What's your favorite cake to eat? And then they can do this. And then the choir can do the song.
Say that again.
Then the choir can do the song. This is the break. Now turn to your other neighbor. For those of you who do this sort of thing, I hear it's different sometimes. What is your favorite cake to bake? What is your favorite cake to bake? For the people who bake, I've heard it's different than the one you like to eat sometimes. Now, with all of this new American money, with this new America we were building, the American women were calling themselves new women now. We were philanthropists and activists now, and especially towards the task of tailoring America. And this new woman was intriguing at first, bold and beguiling, just the way the advertising man designed her. But when Gibson drew her hair down and made it cool for women to ride bicycles, nobody expected that women would cut their hair off, start listening to jazz music and smoking marijuana cigarettes, and trying to make it cool for women not to break. So there was a pellagra scare that gave this power surge to the old lady brigade, the aging Victorian matrons who were appalled by this new woman. The new woman didn't cook, the new woman didn't clean, the new woman didn't dress with any respect. She clearly didn't know how to take care of a household. And the new woman had the most unattractive ambition of wanting to join the ranks of men. All the men said, what? Wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. The men were busy building the American empire, so they needed this new woman, okay, all women really, to be busy doing anything else. So they became baking advocates. And just like that, the plan went from new woman to new American housewife. Cooking schools and finishing schools popped up all across the country. Recipes were written with actual measurements. No more fistful of this, teacup full of that type of narratives, and they were printed in the newspapers for the first time. Cookbooks became popular, and the men, oh, they did their part. They kept new appliances and gadgets rolling off their new production lines. This arrangement was really starting to work out. Even turning into a movement, even a new area of science. And colleges started to invite women onto campus to take these new classes in domestic science. Not the regular science, though, because that might unduly test a woman's intellectual frailties, even though the MIT chemist who founded the field was named Ellen. All of the states, I'm just saying, all of the states were opening these ag and tech colleges with extension divisions to carry their research know-how from the campus into the communities. So when extensions send demonstration agents to teach these new farmers new millennial farming techniques, they also sent an agent to his wife. Home demonstration agents were deputized in these new principles of home ec and domestic science, and they enlisted to teach the new American housewife about food groups, how to cook and store meat, how to can tomatoes, how to sew and repair clothes, the proper settings for tea, the appropriate times for meals, grooming expectations for boys and girls, and acceptable standards for fashion, faith, and conversation. Now, the housewives appreciated these tips, but mostly welcomed their unlikely time together, their relief from overwhelming acreage and scampering kids. In time, these weekly meetings became weekly teachings. And in addition to trading cake recipes, the housewives wrote letters to hospital patients and soldiers. They baked treats for the schools. In time, these canning club traditions evolved into women's clubs. And for the first time, women were networked all across the country, and for the first time, across class. And after 70 years of trying, women earned the right to vote once all these canning clubs were in full swing in all the states. Oh. I'm sorry, let me run that back. White women were networked all across the country and for the first time across class. And after 70 years of trying, white women earned the right to vote. And yes, women of color were involved in the suffrage fight, just excluded from its victory. And there was a wholly separate division of home demonstration agents for and by black families. But no provisions were made for Asian, Mexican, Native, or Jewish homes. Now, while the business of cake grew, it grew with the business that was becoming America. We were baking more cakes and eating more bread now that it was bagged and sliced. And our federal government had loosened up its banking laws so that regular folks could apply for small business loans. And when the veterans returned home from both world wars, they were encouraged to apply for these loans, and they were incentivized to join the baking boom. My bad. Let's run that back. White veterans were eligible for these banking loans and the federal housing grants and membership into the new labor unions. But Social Security for the end of a work life was for everyone. As long as you hadn't spent your work life as a domestic or an agricultural worker. So score one more gerrymandered win for the white guy. And this muscle memory has flavored every layer of this American cake. This cake that we are all eating together right now was designed for the palate and appetite of white men from the very beginning. Freedom to manifest his destiny is why the Jamestown immigrants and Plymouth Rock refugees escaped to this land in the first place. They crossed an ocean on the belief that this inhabited land was their providence from God. And somehow their God did not witness treachery. Somehow their God only witnessed faithful stewards of a harvest intended for them. I mean, why else would white men keep winning if he wasn't intended to? And I mean, how else would white men keep winning if he didn't reconfigure the rules to benefit him? And I mean, controlling the board is the point of winning, right? And winning happened immediately for land-owning white men. And they made winning more likely for his descendants, and for their descendants, and for their descendants. Times 11. And now here we all are. A most complicated cake. Ingredients reacting to inevitable combustion. Now my sister says, why can't you just follow a recipe? It is not that hard. Because I don't care. Enough about the baking. Eating every time, but the baking and the measurement and the science, not so much. And so then all of my wonky cakes are proof of that not caring. And any great baker will tell you that you have to care about the entire cake, all the way from the frosting facade down to the value of every ingredient. Can all my bakers in the building give me an amen? Amen. So if we want to imagine a tastier recipe moving forward, we have to respect the sheer science of baking. The earliest versions of baking chocolate resulted in a reddish-brown color until they changed the formula to a luxurious brown, which was perfect for the chocolate cake, but unacceptable for the popular red velvet cake. So bakers would use food coloring as a compromise. So basically, give or take a step or two, the inside of a chocolate cake is the same as the inside of a red velvet cake. This newfangled America is more than what anyone could have imagined. Like a warm cake with a cold knot of ice cream still on the inside. All of the layers uniform, but not at all the same. Same batter and different textures. My slice of American cake is exactly mine, stacked right next to yours and yours. And it's my truth. And the difference between facts and truth, the facts are what happened. And your truth is how your life tries to make sense of what happened. So we really can only judge this American cake from our own taste buds. You can't tell me that my slice is rich, and I can't convince you that yours is dense. But we can start trading these truth cake stories, at least accepting the multitude of slices coming from the same cake. But the ingredients are what they are. All of us baked warm with hypocrisy, hate, hurt, and hope. And we metabolize those ingredients based on our body types and our tax brackets. In the end, this is our cake. Gorgeous, decadent, and layered. Now, I don't bake, but every bite of this American cake is delicious.
My truth will save the world. My truth will not negativity. My truth dies for racism does.
My truth has the power to tell oracles. It only lives for 13 solar eclipses. My truth is original.
My truth is what Game of Thrones is.
My truth was discovered in a black hole. My truth will live forever until people wake up.
My truth is from Detroit.
My truth eats my fears. My truth will become visible in meetings, during family dinners, and in the classroom. It will distinguish itself from the jest of truth that plays around online. My truth can be found sitting shotgun. I feel my truth pressing upon my thoughts. My truth needs sunshine and bones.
My truth is what's up my daughter.
People want my truth because I try hard to listen to theirs. My truth breathes fire to protect itself. My truth gets years of kids.
My truth is racist.
My truth has no enemies and it lives until it doesn't want to anymore.
My truth eats the other sock.
Vive la serpiente con justicia.
So the seventh three we're gonna say feast. Alright? 1, 2, 3, feast.
And as you think about your truth, your slice of this delicious American cake, I'm gonna stop it before it keeps talking. Thank you. Thinking about what ingredient you could add to this conversation that we've been having, that we'll continue to have, and just have it better. Have it more fully, have it from our chest, have it with some compassion and sweetness, yeah? So to a neighbor in another row, what would you add? What have you heard that's got you thinking? I didn't know that. Or this makes me wonder a thing. Or I would have never, or I would have hoped to, or why can't we? Please share a sweet morsel with a neighbor in another row. So give them a few minutes, and then it's like a minute or two. So the choir can get in play.
We're not doing, the choir will close us. Knowing our history tells us the ingredients that baked the present, the muscle memory that flavored today. And knowing that, may we live our values, tell our truths, listen to one another's stories, and be part of changing the American recipe. May we flavor the future with real, accountable relationships, with solidarity, and with what love looks like in public, as Cornel West says, justice. May it be so. Will you please rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, We Shall Be Known, printed in your orders of service.
Good morning, everyone. This is the third time we've sung through this song, so many of you know this, but if you are new to this song, just take a listen and join in when you're ready. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round.